Imagine a bustling city street at dawn. The air is crisp, the light just beginning to break through the early morning mist. In this urban landscape of constant motion, we see people making decisions that will shape their day, choosing which path to take, deciding what to wear, selecting breakfast items from an endless array of options. Now let's zoom in on one person. Sarah, a middle-aged woman with a determined look in her eyes. She steps off the curb and turns left at the crosswalk, heading toward work. But before she crosses, she stops for just a moment, glancing at her watch. This simple action is not random, it's part of an intricate web that has been woven throughout Sarah's life. Every morning, Sarah follows this routine without thinking much about it. She wakes up early, brews coffee with precise measurements and the exact temperature, and then checks her schedule before leaving for work. But there's something more at play here than just a series of actions. It's a powerful concept known as habit loops. A habit loop is like a well-worn path in a forest, created over time by repeated use. Just as trees grow around an ancient stone that once marked the edge of a village, our behaviors become ingrained and form habits. These habits are not just automatic, they're incredibly influential in shaping who we are and how we make decisions. Let's consider Sarah's morning routine again. She doesn't have to consciously decide where she should pour her coffee or what time she needs to leave for work. It happens almost by itself, making the day ahead feel manageable. This is because each part of her routine reinforces the next in a loop that creates predictability and efficiency. But here's the fascinating thing, these habits can be changed. Just as someone might plant new trees around an old stone path, we can intentionally create or alter our habit loops to better suit our goals and aspirations. By understanding how this process works, we gain powerful tools for improving. Deep within the folds of our brain lies a powerful mechanism that subtly guides our every action. It's called a habit loop, and it quietly shapes our decisions in ways we often overlook. Let's dive into this fascinating world where habits are formed, sustained, and how they can be harnessed to make better choices. Imagine you wake up on a crisp morning, the sun just peeking over the horizon. Your first instinct might not be to grab your alarm clock or even stretch lazily in bed. Instead, you automatically reach for that cup of coffee waiting by your bedside table. This seemingly simple action is part of an intricate dance within our brains. The habit loop consists of three key components: a cue, a routine, and a reward. The cue acts as the trigger, setting off a chain reaction. In the case of waking up to grab coffee, the sound of your alarm or the smell of fresh brew serves as that cue. Next comes the routine, what you do in response to the cue. Finally, there's the reward, the pleasurable experience of enjoying your coffee. Now, let's zoom into these components a bit more closely. The first step is understanding how cues are formed and recognized by our brain. Cues can be anything from time, like waking up, place, your kitchen in the morning, or emotion, feeling tired. These environmental triggers help us form strong associations with specific behaviors, making them almost automatic. Once a cue has been identified, it sets off a routine, a series of actions that we perform without much conscious thought. For instance, you might automatically pour water into your coffee mug and then add milk before sipping the warm liquid. This sequence is so ingrained in our daily lives that we hardly notice how many steps are involved. The final piece of this puzzle is the reward, the positive experience or feeling that reinforces the habit loop. In most cases, rewards can be physical sensations like warmth from a cup of coffee or emotional satisfaction from completing a task. Deep within the labyrinth of our minds lies a fascinating mechanism that subtly guides us through life. It's called a habit loop, and it plays an incredible role in shaping how we make decisions every day. Imagine you're waking up in the morning. The sun is just starting to peek over the horizon, casting golden light into your room. You stretch lazily, feeling the muscles awaken after sleep. But before you can fully appreciate this moment of serenity, something compels you to get out of bed and head towards the bathroom. This isn't a sudden realization or an impulsive decision, it's part of a habit loop that has been ingrained in your brain over time. The cue, a warm room, perhaps the sound of birds outside, triggers a desire for routine action, brushing teeth, washing face, starting the day with a clear mind. Habit loops are made up of three key parts. 1. The cue, a trigger that tells our brain to start a particular behavior. 2. The routine, the actual behavior itself, a chain reaction set in motion by the cue. 3. The reward, a positive outcome or pleasant sensation, reinforcing the loop and making us more likely to repeat it. Let's break down how these components work together using another example: exercising every morning before breakfast. For many of us, this is a deeply ingrained habit that we don't even question anymore. The cue asterisk. Maybe you wake up at 6 a.m. on a Sunday or get an email reminding you about your workout plan for the week. The routine asterisk: you grab some clothes and head to the gym, doing whatever exercises are part of your routine: running, lifting weights, yoga. The reward asterisk: the feeling of accomplishment after finishing, perhaps a shower that leaves you refreshed and ready to tackle the day. Over time, this loop becomes almost automatic. Your brain starts recognizing certain cues like waking up early or getting an email, which automatically sets off the desire for you. In the bustling city of New York, where decisions are made every waking moment, we find ourselves at an intersection that could be anywhere, yet it's a microcosm for something much larger. This is the cradle of habit loops, those invisible forces guiding our choices and actions without us even realizing. Imagine you're walking down a crowded street, trying to decide which cafe to stop in for your morning coffee. Your eyes are drawn to a quaint little place with an enticing aroma wafting out from its open door. You might not consciously think about why this particular cafe catches your attention, but it's the result of countless decisions and repetitions that have formed into a habit loop. Habit loops aren't just mindless routines, they're powerful tools for making decisions more efficiently. At their core, habits are like autopilot systems in our brain. They allow us to save energy by automating certain actions so we can focus on other tasks or ponder bigger choices. For instance, when you brush your teeth each morning without giving it much thought, that's a habit loop at work. But how do these loops form? It starts with the establishment of a cue, a trigger that initiates the process. Maybe for some people, waking up to sunlight is their cue. Others might be triggered by the sound of a coffee machine in the background. This cue then leads us down a familiar path, where we perform a behavior, like choosing your favorite cafe or deciding on your morning brew. Finally, there's that satisfying reward, a steaming cup of coffee in hand. It's fascinating how these loops can make our lives easier and more efficient by taking some of the strain off our decision-making processes. But they also hold immense potential for personal growth when we understand their mechanics. By identifying cues and rewards, you can start to alter your behaviors, whether it's cutting back on sugar or starting a new exercise routine. Let's take a step further into this exploration. Consider how habit loops influence not just daily. As we've explored the mechanics behind habit loops, it's clear that these powerful structures can significantly influence our daily decisions. But how do they translate into real-world implications? How can understanding habits transform not just individual lives but also societal norms and business strategies? Let's begin with personal growth. Imagine waking up in the morning feeling more energized and ready to tackle your day because you've mastered a series of small, habitual actions that set the tone for productivity and positivity. These could be as simple as drinking a glass of water upon waking or meditating before starting work. Over time, these habits become second nature, freeing mental energy for higher-level tasks and decision-making. Now think about your diet. By forming consistent healthy eating habits, like choosing fruits over snacks or preparing meals in advance, you can improve overall health without constant willpower. Struggles. This isn't just a matter of personal well-being, it also impacts productivity at work, reducing sick days and increasing energy levels throughout the day. In education, habit loops play an essential role too. Students who develop consistent study habits, like reviewing notes every night or using flashcards to memorize key concepts, are more likely to succeed academically. These practices not only enhance learning but also build Resilience against future challenges. Businesses can harness the power of habit loops as well. Companies that create cultures where employees follow routines such as daily team meetings, regular feedback sessions, and structured breaks can see a significant boost in morale and productivity. Leaders who set clear expectations for these habits encourage their teams to focus on outcomes rather than day-to-day stress. In healthcare settings, the implications are equally profound. Hospitals can implement procedures that turn best practices into routine behaviors among staff members, reducing errors and improving patient care. For example, hand hygiene protocols or medication verification processes become ingrained through consistent practice, leading to safer environments for everyone involved. Sports teams also benefit from habit loops. Athletes who develop pre-game rituals, like warm-ups or visualization techniques, are often better prepared mentally as we draw our journey to a close. Let's take a moment to reflect on the profound impact of habit loops in shaping our decisions. Imagine you are walking down a quiet street at dawn. The sun is just beginning its ascent, casting long shadows across the cobblestones. You feel a familiar pull, a gentle tug that reminds you it's time for your morning walk. This feeling isn't new, it happens every day. It's part of a pattern, a routine that has become almost second nature to you. The sun rises and so does this habit. Over years, these habits have woven themselves into the fabric of who you are, subtly guiding your choices and actions without much conscious thought. Habit loops aren't just about following routines, they're about making decisions easier by reducing cognitive load. Every morning, as soon as you wake up, a series of mini habits kick in: brushing teeth, taking a shower, having breakfast. These habits are like the threads that weave together to form a larger tapestry, your daily life. But it's not just the familiar routines that shape us, it's also those moments when we break our patterns and make new ones. Consider the day you decided to start running every morning instead of walking. It was uncomfortable at first, breaking your usual rhythm. But over time, this decision became a habit, and suddenly, the early mornings felt more like an adventure than a chore. The power of these loops lies in their ability to transform our lives by making us more efficient and productive. They are the silent architects that build our days, month after month. Think about how many decisions you make each day: what to wear, what to eat for breakfast, which route to take home from work. Without habits, every single one of these choices would require conscious deliberation. However, just as we can create good habits, we also have the power to break and change them. Imagine if you decided that instead of checking your phone first thing in, growth is a ladder, not a leap. Subscribe and keep climbing.